Please stand as you are able and join me in the call to worship. We gather in this house that others have built, walls that have echoed with laughter and tears, songs that have carried faith across generations. Here the saints have gathered before us. Here the prayers still linger in the air. We come to add our voices to theirs, to build again upon the foundation of love and grace. For we are living stones of God's dwelling, and Christ is still building his house among us. Come, let us worship the one who makes all things holy, the God who gathers, remembers, and renews. Saints in this place, some whose names we know by heart, others whose stories are stitched quietly into the life of this church. They were teachers and troublemakers, mentors and musicians, characters in the truest sense of the word. Through them, God has shaped our faith and formed our character. They taught us that holiness is not about perfection, but about presence. Showing up with love, with laughter, with courage, and trusting that God would meet us here. On Homecoming Sunday, we gave thanks for the story of Central, how God has used this community, and how the people of this church shape the lives of those who worship here. Today, as we name the saints of Central who have passed in the previous year, we remember that their stories are still being written in us. The faith they passed on still finds its voice in this room. And the same Spirit who held them in life now holds us too, calling us to carry their light forward into another season of grace.
Jim Blackley. Shirley Jones, Duke de Villiers, John Bone, Ralph Little, Bud Tabor, Gerald Burns, Avis McCallum, Ron Willis, Tommy Edwards, Jack McIntosh.
Holy God, in every age you have raised up women and men who have reflected your light and shared your love. For the saints who showed us faith in the face of doubt. For the saints who lifted our burdens and lightened our days. For the saints who prayed for us before we knew their names, and for those who still hold us in your eternal care. For the saints who challenged us, comforted us, and believed in us. For the saints who showed us how to serve, how to give generously, how to live with hope. Loving God, as we remember them, help us to follow their example, to live with compassion, to give with joy, to walk by faith, and to serve with love. Please stand.
All be with us and keep us safe. And bring us back again next week. In your name we pray. Amen. All right, you guys are going to Children's Church. Head this way.
Today's Old Testament reading is found in 1 Kings chapter 19, verses 1 through 18. Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done and how he had killed all the prophets with the sword. Then Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah, saying, "So may the gods do to me, and more also, if I do not make your life like the life of one of them by this time tomorrow." Then he was afraid. He got up and fled for his life and came to Beersheba, which belongs to Judah. He left his servant there. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness and came and sat down under a solitary broom tree. He asked that he might die. "It is enough now. O Lord, take my life away, for I am no better than my ancestors." Then he lay down under the broom tree and fell asleep. Suddenly, an angel touched him and said to him, "Get up and eat." He looked, and there at his head was an angel, touched him, and was a cake baked on hot stones and a jar of water. He ate and drank and lay down again. The angel of the Lord came a second time, touched him, and said, "Get up and eat, or the journey will be too much for you." He got up and ate and drank. Then he went in the strength of that food 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb, the mount of God. At that place he came to a cave and spent the night there. Then the word of the Lord came to him, saying, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He answered, "I have been very zealous for the Lord, the God of hosts, for the Israelites have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. I alone am left, and they are seeking my life, to take it away." He said, "Go out and stand on the mountain before the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by." Now there was a great wind, so strong that it was splitting mountains and breaking rocks in pieces before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind, and after the wind, an earthquake. But the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a sound of sheer silence. When Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his mantle and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. Then there came a voice to him that said, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He answered, "I have been very zealous for the Lord, the God of hosts, for the Israelites have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. I alone am left, and they are seeking my life, to take it away. Then the Lord said to him, Go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus. When you arrive, you shall anoint Hazael as king over Aram. Also you shall anoint Jehu, son of Nimshi, as king over Israel. And you shall anoint Elisha, son of Shaphat, of Abel Meholah, as prophet in your place. Whoever escapes from the sword of Hazael, Jehu shall kill, and whoever escapes from the sword of Jehu, Elisha shall kill. Yet I will leave 7,000 in Israel, all the knees that have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth that has not kissed him.
Apologize for the speakers not working. I think the microphones were working just fine for the live stream, but the speakers were not working. So we're going to start the service over. The litany and the liturgy was beautiful as we remember the saints. A difficult text this morning as we dive into 1 Kings 19. But before we get to 1 Kings 19, we kind of have to look and see what happens in 1 Kings 18. So Elijah, now it's really important, remember that J there, Elijah has just done an amazing thing in 1 Kings 18. Elijah has this dramatic victory over 450 prophets of Baal. Now, Baal is this other little g god. It is this idol. It is this worship of these foreigners all around Israel. And there's a king Ahaz and his wife Jezebel, and they worship Baal. And so they have these 450 prophets of Baal. And Elijah goes, one person, a man of God, the one who was and is to come. One person, a man of Yahweh, I am who I am. I will always be who I will always be, standing against these 450 prophets of Baal. And so there's this really intricate scene here where the prophets of Baal, like everything is just drenched with water, and the prophets of God, everything is drenched with water, and the prophets of Baal says, all right, make this kind of go into flames. Nothing happens. And then Elijah says, okay, put more water on it, put more water on it, put more water. And there's this thing, it's just full of water, and Elijah says, all right, God, do your thing. And God does God's thing. Fire falls on this drenched table, this drenched altar, and the people are going, oh, wow. Well, then there's this whole, thing of where all the prophets of Baal are then dispensed of. If this were a TikTok, I think I would say they were unalived at this point. And so there's this just really big thing that Elijah has done, and because he has done this thing, because he is a man of God, he almost is like, all right, I have won. But he is immediately exhausted. And so what happens after Elijah does this thing is Jezebel gets real mad. And so she starts to chase him. And so Elijah says, but why? Because I've just done this big thing that God has called me to do, and yet he is running for his life. Elijah almost collapses under the weight of exhaustion of doing exactly what God has called him to do. And so Elijah flees. He flees to the wilderness of Beersheba. Beersheba is the very edge of the experience of the covenant between God and God's people. Beersheba is the very outer limits of where the people of God might find themselves. There have been some amazing things that happen in Beersheba, in this center of the wilderness. Beersheba is like, I don't know, maybe going to Iva, right? I mean, it's just right on the boundaries of what's acceptable. I don't know, if you live in Iva, you know what I mean. But there's like what we know and then what we don't know. And so Elijah has tried to live as a man of God in wherever God has called him. And when he does it, he gets exhausted by doing the very thing that God calls him to, and he has to flee to the wilderness. And he goes and he flees to the wilderness, and he kind of sits under essentially what's called a broom tree. Now, a broom tree is essentially like, we have this little evergreen tree over here. It looks like kind of like Charlie Brown's Christmas tree. If you walk outside and you'll see this, I don't know what it's called, but it kind of grows up and then it like flumps over like this, right? I don't know why it's pretty. Some people might think they're pretty, but we got this thing and it flumps over like this. That's what I envision, that Elijah's going to take shade under this Charlie Brown Christmas tree. I mean, he's like, I can't, he's like, I need shade, I need protection, but this is all I can find. And when he takes shade under this Charlie Brown Christmas tree, he says, it's enough. And what he means there is, I'm done. What he means there is, take me home. Take me home because I've done everything that I can do. I have no more left to give. I'm all by myself. And God says, oh, really? You're all by yourself. God says, you did that whole thing with the prophets of Baal all by yourself? You're sitting here in the wilderness of Beersheba under the Charlie Brown Christmas tree all by yourself? The angels come and say, get up, eat. Get up, take what you need. Rest while you need to rest. Get up and eat. And so here, by the angels, God gives Elijah just what he needs. No more, no less, kind of like the manna in the wilderness, right? Not so much that he can go back and face the more prophets of Baal that may come after the 450, but just enough to sustain himself through 40 days in the wilderness. And so that's exactly what he does. He gets up and he eats, and he's sustained for 40 days in the wilderness. This 40 days, we've been here before. We've been here with Moses at Mount Horeb. We've been here with the Israelites for 40 years in the wilderness. We will be here again with Jesus for 40 days. He was led by the Spirit into the wilderness. Elijah travels 40 days and nights. But this wilderness goes from Beersheba, the edge of the covenant, to Mount Horeb, this liminal space, this sacred space where God's people meet God. I said at my Revelation class on Wednesday that for us Southern Presbyterians, it's not Mount Horeb, but it's Montreat. Right? Oh, we can go to Montreat and we can meet God there. We may be in Iowa one day, but we can be in Montreat, North Carolina by the end of the day. 40 days and nights. We don't know if it was actually 40 days and 40 nights, but what it means is it's a long time. 40 days is a long time. That's why we have Lent, where the days lengthen, where we celebrate waiting. So Elijah travels through the wilderness, sustained by the cakes from the angel. He travels through the wilderness with not more than he needs and not less than he needs. And he goes to this cave. Now, I've never noticed this cave before. When Moses was there, I didn't notice this cave. I never noticed this cave on Horeb. But here, Elijah, who is still fleeing for his life because he's afraid Jezebel's coming after him, Elijah finds not only Horeb, but he finds this cleft in the rock that even at the place where he can experience the fullness of God, he hides. And God says, what are you doing here, Elijah? And he's asking Elijah to think about what he's doing. What are you doing here, Elijah? And Elijah says, woe is me. Nobody knows the trouble I feel. He's like, I've done all this stuff for you, God. I've done all this stuff, and there's nobody left but me. Woe is me, poor me. God asked him this twice. What are you doing here, Elijah? And then there at the cave, Elijah meets the rock band, Earthquake, Wind, and Fire. All these familiar sounds of divine power, earthquake, wind, and fire. Anybody ever lived through an earthquake? Anybody? I mean, not like a South Carolina earthquake, but like a real one. Yeah, they're pretty devastating from what I understand. I remember now that the World Series is over, I remember watching that World Series years and years and years ago with my grandfather, right? When the earthquake happened there in the middle of the baseball game. Just amazing just to watch it on TV and the devastation. I mean, if the ground shaking is not the presence of God, then what is? You ever stood by and watched some fire just truly consume something from the ground up? When I was serving a small church in Clover, South Carolina, a lot of our members of the church were part of the volunteer fire department, and they would call a lot of times if it was a member of the church and there was a fire at a member's house. They would say, "Hey, Michael, wake up, so-and-so's house is burning." And one night I got a call at 2 o'clock in the morning that so-and-so's house was burning. And I sat out there, and I'm not a volunteer firefighter. I give thanks for the volunteers and the real the professional firefighters who do that work. Watched a fire consume someone's whole life. The power of fire in that. If there's not God in the midst of that, I don't know what is. Wind, I think that's about one thing that most all of us can say we've been in the wind. We may not have had the earthquake, we may not have seen fire consume, but we've been in a wind, right? We've been maybe on the top of a mountain, maybe it's at Montreat, maybe it's at Rockface and Camp Buck, but you have felt that wind that has been so strong that it literally feels like it is going to push you over. If God is not in the wind, then I don't know where God is. But Elijah knows that maybe he's missing something. So after this earthquake, and after this wind, and after this fire, there's nothing but the sound of sheer silence. Elijah says, "Oh, aha, okay." And so you imagine Elijah now walking out to the end of the cage, and he's enveloped in sheer silence. That's probably the thing we're most afraid of, isn't it? You see, during the worship service each week when we do a confession of sins and a silent confession, the liturgist up here, we have to count to 10 or 15, and some liturgists count really fast because we don't like that sound of silence, because in that silence we may actually come face to face with who God is. And we may actually come face to face with who God calls us to be. And that sound of silence means we have to cut out the noise, the earthquakes, the winds, the fires, the discourse, the dis-ease, the dysfunction, all the things in the world that are calling our attention from the sound of silence. God shows up for Elijah again for the first time, not in spectacle, but in stillness. And Elijah covers his face. Isn't that interesting? Elijah covers his face. Now, you would think that in the earthquake, if you're standing at the cleft of a rock in the earthquake, then yes, stones are going to fall and you're going to cover your face. If you're in the midst of wind, the sand is going to blow and you're going to cover your face. If you're standing at the edge of the fire and the heat is so strong, you're going to cover the face. But Elijah, here in the moment of still silence, covers his face because he is in the presence of God. What are you doing here, Elijah? Look at all I've done for you, O God. Look at everything I've done. I have reached the pinnacle. I've destroyed the prophets of Baal. I've done everything you've called me to do, and there's nobody left but me. And God says, oh yeah? How about Hazael? How about Jehu? How about Elisha? Elijah says, no, wait a minute, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that I didn't want to still serve you, but there's nobody who can do it like I can do it. And God says, oh yes, there is, because they don't do it alone. You don't do it alone. I will do it with him. So instead of you, Elijah, maybe this is the place, this silence, where you have heard your call and your time has come and it's time for you to do something else. So anoint Hazael, anoint Jehu, anoint Elijah. The mission of God continues when we think we haven't got enough to carry it across. The mission of God continues because of the faithful who have brought us this far, the saints who have brought us to this point, and now we are called to invest in the present and the future of the church. The mission of God continues when we think, I am so exhausted, I cannot do anymore all by myself. That's when we should keep our mouths shut and listen for what God calls us to do together. God says, Elijah, you've never been alone. You're not alone now. Nor are you the only one who can do the thing that I'm calling you to do. The work of God outlives the worker. The work of God outlives the worker. This is the good news. This is why we gather together on All Saints Sunday and we remember the saints who have brought us this far. This is also why All Saints Sunday is Stewardship Sunday. This thing, this church, this mission, this ministry, this does not belong to me. This does not belong to us. This mission and ministry belongs to God. And so we will share our gifts. We will share our lives. We will share our talents. We will share our time together so that God's mission will outlive our work. God's work continues beyond any one person, pastor, generation, or moment. We are just stewards. We're just stewards. We're not owners. And we're called to live our lives in service to God with everything we have and all that we are. May it be so this day, forever and ever. Amen.
Well, it is my turn to address you all. And what a day it is. Today is a day of taking a leap of faith. It is both All Saints' Day, the time to remember those who have entered the church triumphant this year. For many, a day of renewed grief and tears. And it is also Dedication Sunday, a day of commitment, discernment, and investment. While on sabbatical in London this past summer, I read a sign on the construction that was being added to a really old historic building. And the sign read, "Remembering the past, building for the future." This quote sums up today for me. I can sum it up in one word, actually: investment. The quote today is pertinent. Without others in this congregation taking leaps of faith, I would not even be here addressing you today. For my baptism in 1974, right there by that font by Pastor Marty Harkey, to Ralph Little's mother, Alice, encouraging me to be a young adult volunteer in our denominational program, to London, where I literally heard in that still small voice, God's voice calling me, saying, "You will be my minister. Take care of my people." To Central's pastor, Dwayne Munger, discernment for me to go to Columbia Seminary, and to Dr. David Bailey, pastoring me through seminary to go on to marry my husband and I, and to be part of my ordination here. Central's ever-changing congregation has taken a leap of faith to support me, to teach me that there's always room at the table of God. So how did I get here as one of your pastors? My father suffered a huge brain bleed the day after Christmas in 2016, and then he spent 2 months in the hospital, unconscious, hoping he would gain consciousness. We knew there was little hope. And David Bailey visited me one day while Dad was still at ANMED, and with his sincerity and kindness, he asked point blank, "Is there anything that I can do for you, Noel, and for your family?" Without a thought, I answered rather flippantly, "Well, you could find me a job closer to home." We were living in West Mississippi at the time. And Dr. Bailey replied, "Your parents haven't told you there's a job opening at Central?" I was like, "No, they have not." Within a week, I met with a committee chaired by Gail Southard, along with Stan McCallum and Candy Dickens. 2 weeks later, I was offered the position and began June 15th of 2017. And I am the recipient of many leaps of faith. Within my 8 years of pastoring here at Central, I have stood in the gap between those who were and those whom God continues to live and call to faith within this congregation. I am grounded in the past and hopeful for the future. I am so very grateful to get to minister here in this place and among you, the people of God. I get to journey alongside the grieving through Central's 2 grief groups. I get to laugh and play and plan with the Crossroads Mission Board. We have way too much fun. I get to preach and teach and pray. I get to baptize and serve communion from this table, as well as take communion out to our homebound members. I get to sit with the dying in hospice house, the lonely, the scared, the aging, that from cradle to grave, I get to proclaim the gospel of a God who suffers with, a God who calls us by name for God's purpose and for God's glory. I get to love, live, and teach Jesus. I'm so humbled and yet so grateful. Every day I get to take a leap of faith to choose life. In reflection for today, I was drawn to Jeremiah 32. In Jeremiah 32, the prophet faces the hopeless situation of exile. Yet he does something gutsy and remarkable. As his city is surrounded and hope seems lost, God tells him to buy a field to invest in the future when there seems to be nothing that's going to be left. Jeremiah signs the deed and owns a field. And he says, the houses and fields and the vineyards shall again be brought to this land. A leap of faith. Jeremiah's purchase wasn't a financial transaction. It was an act of faith and hope, love, and relationship. Jeremiah believed God's promise of restoration and renewal, even though nothing around him seemed secure or possible. Jeremiah took a leap of faith. Now that's the heart of stewardship. Like Jeremiah, we are invited and called to take a leap of faith with our financial giving. Our giving of self and time and talents. We are invited to invest in God's future and secure a future for this congregation for the glory of God. Today, when we make our pledges, we are, in our own way, buying a field with a leap of faith. So today, as you bring your commitment cards, may it be a leap of faith, a bold step into what God's promised for the future. Like Jeremiah, may we trust that even in uncertain times, God is still a God of hope. We are blessed to be a blessing, and what we offer, no matter how big or how small, it makes a difference, and it is an investment in the kingdom of God. Thanks be to God. I now invite you to take a leap of faith with me as you come forward with your estimate of giving cards that are in the bulletin and your morning offering. May you come with joy, anticipation, expectation, and hope, for you are remembering the past and building for the future. Thanks be to God again.